Good morning, Stratford. I'm Athena Leskovich.
And I'm Andy Chief. Today is Friday, September 10th. It's a B-Day.
It's National Waffle Week.
Happy birthday to senior Rachel Toon, and happy birthday on Sunday to senior Langley Fickling, junior Magdalene Alvarez, and middle school teacher Miss Jessica Calais.
Here's today's weather forecast.
The Flick menu for today in the Prentice Robinson cafeteria is
Here are some scenes from the yearbook picture day on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yearbook photos will be taken Tuesday at break on the steps in front of the library for the following clubs: Peer Mentors, Key Club Officers, and Honor Council.
The last day to sign up for Pep Club is Monday afternoon at the end of school. You can sign up by scanning the QR code on the screen or in front of Miss Fleming's room and other locations around school. If you wrote your name down at the club fair, this does not count. You must fill out the Google form connected to the QR code.
Carly Blackwood has an announcement from the Beta Club.
Hi, I'm Carly Blackwood, and I'm the president of the Beta Club. There will be a meeting Thursday, the 16th, in the auditorium. It is very important that all members attend the meeting.
If you plan to bring a date to homecoming dance who is not a Stratford student, you must register your date on the sign-up sheet in the upper school office. You must provide your name, your date's name, your date's school, and an emergency contact number for your date, such as their parent's cell phone number. Ms. Ferrari has an announcement about today's special assembly to commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Good morning, Stratford. Today is September 10th, 2021. 20 years ago, on September 11th, 2001, a series of terrorist attacks were carried out against the United States by an Islamic extremist group known as Al-Qaeda. The mastermind behind the attacks was Osama bin Laden, a wealthy Saudi Arabian who had been banished from his own country. He declared war against the United States in part because of its support of Israel, its involvement in the Persian Gulf War, and its continued military presence in the Middle East. Because all of you students were born after that fateful day, I will provide you with a very brief history lesson on what happened on September 11th, 2001. My source for this information is the 9/11 Memorial Museum website. After this presentation, we will move to the Tift Auditorium and sit by homeroom to watch a 30-minute documentary produced by the 9/11 Memorial Museum. We will then hear from 3 teachers who have a personal connection to that day. Finally, we will distribute small flags and gather by the flagpole with the rest of the school for some memorial reflections. What happened on the morning of September 11th, 2001? On September 11th, 2001, 19 terrorists associated with Al-Qaeda, an Islamist extremist group, hijacked 4 commercial airplanes scheduled to fly from the East Coast to California. In a coordinated attack that turned the planes into weapons, the terrorists intentionally flew 2 of the planes into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, a global business complex in New York City, causing the towers to collapse. They also flew a 3rd plane into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, in Arlington, Virginia. Passengers and crew members on the 4th plane launched a counterattack, forcing the hijacker pilot, who was flying the airplane toward Washington, D.C., to crash the plane into a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, near the town of Shanksville. The 9/11 attacks killed 2,977 people. This was the single largest loss of life resulting from a foreign attack on American soil. The attacks caused the death of 441 first responders, the greatest loss of emergency responders on a single day in American history. Who is responsible for the 9/11 attacks, and why did they attack the United States? The terrorist organization Al-Qaeda was responsible for the 9/11 attacks. Founded by Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda is responsible for multiple terrorist attacks since its founding in the 1980s. Their aim has been to overthrow governments in the Middle East and elsewhere in the Muslim world, which does not strictly enforce a narrow, fundamentalist version of Islam. U.S. support for these governments was viewed by Al-Qaeda as a major obstacle to this goal, and they hoped these attacks would weaken American support for these governments. Al-Qaeda represents only a tiny fraction of the world's Muslim community. What was the World Trade Center, and why was it important? The original World Trade Center was a 16-acre complex in New York City, comprising 7 buildings that housed more than 430 businesses from around the world. The Twin Towers, 2 110-story skyscrapers at the World Trade Center, dominated the Manhattan skyline for 3 decades before their destruction in 2001. Although initially criticized for their audacious height and severe architectural style, the buildings took on iconic status in the public imagination, becoming emblematic of New York City and America as a whole. Their fame and symbolism made the Twin Towers the targets of 2 terrorist attacks. The first took place on February 26, 1993, when a van loaded with approximately 1,200 pounds of explosives was detonated in the public parking garage beneath the World Trade Center. The second took place on September 11, 2001, when members of the terrorist group Al-Qaeda flew 2 hijacked planes into the buildings, leading to their collapse. As millions watched the events unfolding in New York, American Airlines Flight 77 circled over downtown Washington, D.C. before crashing into the west side of the Pentagon military headquarters at 9:45 a.m. Jet fuel from the Boeing 757 caused a devastating inferno that led to the structural collapse of a portion of the giant concrete building, which is the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense. All told, 125 military personnel and civilians were killed in the Pentagon, along with all 64 people aboard the airliner. Of the 4 aircraft hijacked on September 11, 2001, United Airlines Flight 93 is the only one that did not reach the hijackers' intended target, presumed to be the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. Several passengers and crew members made cellular telephone calls from the plane and learned about the attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Arlington County, Virginia. As a result, the passengers and crew members decided to mount an assault in order to retake control of the aircraft from the hijackers. The plane crashed in a field in Stony Creek Township, about 150 miles northwest of Washington, D.C., killing all 44 passengers and crew members, including the 4 terrorists. One World Trade Center, formerly referred to as the Freedom Tower, is the main building of the rebuilt World Trade Center complex in Lower Manhattan, New York City. One World Trade Center is the tallest building in the United States, the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, and the 6th tallest in the world. The super tall structure has the same name as the North Tower of the original World Trade Center, which was destroyed in the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. The building's architect is David Childs of the firm Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. The construction of the 94-story building was part of an effort to memorialize and rebuild following the destruction of the original World Trade Center complex.